actually, there's a recent figure, Sec Pernia. This is not a critique, but just an update. No? We've already achieved the replacement fertility rate. So
meaning per couple just has 2 kids?
No, that is per woman or per couple, but even for a single, 2.1, but that's statistical average. So if you round off 2 kids, no? We've already achieved that. In fact, the figure is 1.9 for the 2022 National Demographic and Health Survey. So things are gonna look up. So population, high population growth might not be a huge problem, but let me provide another update. Because in developing countries, on the average, when the replacement fertility rate is achieved, what comes next is high inequality in the short term. So therefore, it means that we still have to focus on the demographic transition problem in the Philippines, or challenge in the Philippines, but let's shift our focus on inequality. And that includes geographic inequality. Because I looked at the figures last night. BARM replacement fertility rate is still very high at 3+, and then NCR is close to the 1.9 national average. Just an update.
All right, well, I'm curious, for a regular person, what's a 1.9 child? That's either 1 or 2, right? Make up your mind. What's a 2.1 child, right? I know, so 2, okay? Go ahead. You were saying, yeah. Did you want to dispute?
I was going to say that I did discuss with the MAPA about, he said 1.9, but then there are still many provinces and regions that have more than 1.9, and they're still above replacement fertility. So that is what I came about.
All right. So Dr. Jaime Galvestan was once health secretary. So I want to ask you something. Professor Pernia pointed out the investments that we make in terms of human, social, and physical. And I find it quite interesting because under the Constitution, we are mandated by law to give education the biggest budget. So when you think of it in terms of numbers, you can't debate with senators and congressmen. They will tell you, of course, education has the biggest investment. I've been a journalist for 30 years, so you can imagine how many public work secretaries I've spoken to, wherein they said, we've spent 2% for infrastructure with GDP, 2% of GDP. But during the time of President Duterte, that's when we wanted to move it. I think we spent 5% of GDP. Is this correct? Roughly. Okay.
Yeah. Well, 5%. Yeah, we were trying to double the previous ratio.
Okay, so my question to Dr. Tan, when you look at the numbers, we still spend the most on education. Health, definitely not. But where are we failing if education takes the #1 spot in the budget?
Yes, thank you, Karen. And of course, I'd like to congratulate our Secretary Pernia. Isang palakpak pa ulit. Well, as mentioned by Secretary Pernia very well, we are already there in demographic transition. What we should do as policy is take advantage of the demographic dividend. And this is where we focus on the 15-year-old to 24. But then, right now, I'd like to expand it. The real productive workforce, I'm sure, as all of us will agree, will be 15 to 35. But right now, when you look at the health of the 15 to 35, there are 4 critical issues facing our young workforce. So number 1, HIV/AIDS. We're still the highest in the world. And we're only the country...
In the world?
In the world, yes. And we're the only country in the world with a rising HIV. All the whole world is decreasing by 30%. We're increasing by 30%.
We're higher than Africa?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely. And number two, teenage pregnancy. We're one of the highest in Asia, although there's some good news. We dropped a few percent because of the pandemic. The pandemic actually helped lessen teen pregnancy.
No sex.
Yes, no sex.
They're all home, alone.
Yes.
Walang kausap, walang kasama.
Hindi lang yung kung if ever punong-puno yung bahay na hindi pwedeng mag-sex.
Oo.
Thirdly, I'd like to say this is the most critical. No? For the last 30 years, Karen, and to the audience, we have had 30%, as mentioned already by Secretary Pernia, of our children. Actually, it's not only below 6, even below 12, because school children are also measured in terms of stunting. And stunting means chronic malnutrition, prolonged malnutrition. Now, when you're stunted at 6 or stunted at 12, you're stunted forever. So when we look at the audience or our people, 30% of our people right now, even adults are already rather experiencing the stunted development. And lastly, tuberculosis. Tuberculosis affects right now the 15 to 34. Unfortunately, in the recent tuberculosis survey, our tuberculosis is even higher than 1995.
You're kidding.
The rate, yes, that's quite so unfortunate. No? And where are among 30 countries burdened with tuberculosis, we're the 4th in the whole world. Maraming tayong
But
pinagmamalaki.
why? But why?
But why?
Why?
What could have been and what can be done? And then in terms of multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, we're 7th in the world. And these 4, I'm just mentioning 4, I could mention others, but for me, these are the 4 greatest issues in human capital building. Okay? So how can we develop our human capital if they are all sick with HIV, stunting, and then tuberculosis, plus, of course, teenage pregnancies. And even the teens right now, no, they have their second child in 20 months, while adults have the second child in 30 months. So, I mean, I always tell the health people that our goal in teenage pregnancy, no pregnancy for the next 6 years. Really, because the statistics show that once you get pregnant at a teenager, you get pregnant again in a matter of time. Anyway, that's the human capital. Talk of the social capital. Do you know that more than 40% of all barangays in the Philippines do not have a decent barangay health station? We're talking universal health care, but if at least that's counting around 24,000 barangays not having any single barangay health station. And what more, no human resource infrastructure. You may feel that as if we have so many hospitals, but when I review our hospital bed to population ratio, we do not even meet the standard of World Health Organization. We need more social infrastructure, more health stations, more hospitals, more hospital beds across the country. We're going to miss the boat in the demographic transition. When I reviewed what Secretary Pernia said, the 174 flagship programs of President BBM today, only 5 are in health of the 174 flagship. 194, I'm sorry, yes. 190, only 5 are in health. Think of it. What about the others?